You guys broke the law and you know it. How can you legally even rent out this place?
Hello, this is Rose Fatal. I'd like to share a personal story. A year ago, I was attacked and robbed. When I first moved to Portugal, I worked part-time at a giant paintball arena. I really enjoyed experiencing the Mediterranean for the first time. Eventually though, I had to find my own place near Lisbon as it was my best hope for finding a full-time English-speaking job. I found that renting a studio apartment or even a single room in a shared flat was very expensive in Lisbon compared to other capital cities I'd lived in before. This was especially true when you consider the typical salaries in Portugal. In the end, all I could afford was to rent a single room in a shared flat on the outskirts of Lisbon. Check out my neighborhood. The room was being rented without a contract, which made it roughly 40% cheaper than renting with a contract. Furthermore, it was located in one of the country's most notorious ghettos known as Casal Da Mira. The neighborhood was littered with broken cars, abandoned houses, and large amounts of trash just dumped all over the place. Its main feature, however, was all the gang activity. There were gang signs on half the buildings there. The gangsters had the same symbols tattooed on their necks and hands. I often saw them selling drugs right outside my flat. The worst thing though was the frequent sound of gunshots in the area.
This is what we hear every night here.
The police were often present to break up violence like this. Despite all of this, renting a single room there still cost me 450 euros a month. I wouldn't usually rent a place without a contract, but due to my limited budget at the time, I wasn't able to afford anything else. Furthermore, it appeared that the landlords were reliable. They were a married Portuguese couple of whom the wife was a lawyer and the husband was a car mechanic. Besides, the apartment looked like it was in good condition. Shortly after I moved in, mold started to appear all over the apartment, in every room. It was on the walls, in the closets, spoiling food in the kitchen, damaging my bed sheets, my clothes, and even my recording equipment. All my flatmates were having the same problem too. It was truly the worst mold infestation I'd ever seen in my life. While trying to find the source of the problem, I explored the floor above me. I was horrified to discover that our roof was missing many tiles, allowing water to just pour in. All the walls of the attic were in a terrible state of decay. It was clear that our apartment was actually a condemned building that wasn't legal to rent out. Our landlords had only done minor renovations on it. That way, on the surface, it looked safe and habitable. When I informed the landlords about my concerns, they didn't want to take responsibility. Instead, they suggested that I find another place to live. They gave me 2 weeks to find a new place and made it clear that renting with them was no longer an option. They assured me that my deposit would be returned on the day that I left.
At the end of the month, I want you out.
End of the month, okay, but
End of the month.
at the end of the month, it's fine. At the end of the month, I won't, but you will return my deposit.
Yes, of course.
On the day I arranged with them that I'd move out, they came over to collect the key and inspect the room. They stated that they were happy with the room's condition, but that they were not going to return my deposit. When I asked why they were breaking our agreement, the lawyer stated that I had no official contract with them, therefore could not prove that I'd ever lived there. She claimed that as a lawyer, she could make up whatever story she wanted and everyone would believe her. My husband told the landlords that they were breaking the law.
You guys broke the law and you know it. How can you legally even rent out this place?
They responded by laughing at us, then said it didn't matter what they did since we could never prove it. I pointed out that the little black thing on my coat was a hidden camera and that I'd just filmed their whole confession.
I don't care
So you're
about
telling me that this is completely normal and legal? As a lawyer, this is normal. I mean, you understand that we're filming this conversation, right?
I wore the hidden camera since I anticipated that something like this might happen. Furthermore, I had instructed my husband not to use force if they should resort to violence, since the lawyer could spin it against us in court. They both panicked and quickly exited the room. The mechanic landlord yelled out of the window to one of his employees, a large muscular man who was stationed outside of our building. The man ran up the stairs, entered our room, grabbed me and threw me to the floor. Meanwhile, the lawyer grabbed my concealed camera off my coat and ran away with it. In the process, she stupidly filmed herself running with my camera. My husband called the police, notifying them of of my assault. When the cops showed up, the lawyer denied everything, including the existence of my hidden camera. It was unfortunate for her then that my husband used his phone to record the audio of the confrontation. It was enough evidence to convince the cops that the lawyer was lying. The police instructed the lawyer to return my camera, which she reluctantly did. However, when it came down to the deposit, she only had half of what she owed me in her wallet. The police advised me to accept that cash since I'd never managed to get anything if I tried to pursue it through legal channels. Even though it wasn't the whole amount that was owed, I had to accept the cash. I needed it to help me pay for the first month rent at my new place. I later reported the landlords for assault and robbery, providing the Portuguese authorities with all the evidence I had. I don't expect much to come of it, especially as the police have bigger problems to deal with during this pandemic. That, to date, has been the worst rental experience of my life. Now I pass the question on to you. Have any of you ever been screwed over by a landlord while living in a foreign country? Is this sort of corruption common in Portugal? What advice would you give someone going through a similar situation? If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe, and ding the bell for future content. It's been Fatally Honest. Ciao.